Hey friends, I just wanted to go over the first Khan Academy exercise for today, the one that is features of quadratic functions. Looking at this, we have a parabola, a function of a parabola, and we are asked to come up with a bunch of different information about it. So what are these questions asking? Well, first off, it's asking for our zeros. Those are just our x-intercepts. Where is this function equal to 0? And the second thing that they are asking us to do is provide the vertex. So we have the zeros and we have the vertex. All right, and here is our equation. Now, right off the bat, I know that the y-intercept is negative 56. This is in standard form, but unfortunately, this did not ask for the y-intercept. It asked for the two x-intercepts and the vertex. So let's go ahead and find those two pieces of information, the x-intercepts and the vertex. So I have gone ahead and typed up this equation. We had x squared minus 10x minus 56. And the first thing it asked for was the x-intercepts. So we are looking for x plus or minus something times x plus or minus something and going from there. Now I need two pieces of information, two numbers that multiply to negative 56 that add up to negative 10. Now, over here, I'm going to go ahead and start typing a few of them. I have 1 and negative 56, negative 1 and 56, 2 and negative 28, negative 2 and 28. I have 4 and negative 14, negative 4 and 14. And then finally, I have 7 and negative 8, and negative 7 and 8. All of those multiply to negative 56. Now, which ones add up to a negative 10? Well, which ones add up to a negative 10? That would be this one right here, 4 and negative 14. So 4 and negative 14. So my final factored form is plus 4, and this is minus 14. Now, be careful. I know it's really, really tempting to say, hey, I have my x-intercepts. My x-intercepts are 4 and negative 14. This is not the case. My first x-intercept is negative 4. My second x-intercept is 14. So I can go ahead and fill those in. My two x-intercepts are negative 4 and 14. Khan Academy is pretty particular about the order. They want the smaller one and the larger one. Well, negative 4 is definitely smaller than 14. So we have our zeros. All right, now, next thing it is asking for is the vertex, Now, if I'm looking to get something into vertex form, one of the things that has helped us out in the past is to write this out with a few different blanks here. So if I were to write this out as x squared minus 10x, and I'm going to go ahead and leave a blank here. And then finally, I'm going to go ahead and move my negative 56 out here, and then I'm also going to add a second blank right here. So with this, I'm looking to complete the square. I want this to be a perfect square, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and split up. I have negative 10. If I split that up perfectly in half, I have minus 5, minus 5. Now let's talk about what goes in these blanks. If I just split up my negative 10 into negative 5 and negative 5, well, negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. And finally, if I added 25 here, I'm going to need to subtract 25 over here. All right, and thinking about this, 50 minus 20, or negative 50 minus 20 is negative 70. Negative 6 minus another 5, I believe this is going to be negative 81, if I did my math correctly there. And then finally, in vertex form, pardon my handwriting, I have x minus 5 squared minus 81. All right, now looking at this, this is vertex form, but that is not our vertex yet. Remember, in order to get this to have our actual vertex, we need to figure out how far left and right, how far up and down. This one went to the right by 5, so I'm going to go ahead and put a 5 here, and it went down by negative 81. So I have 5, negative 81. So here we go, 5, negative 81. And let's just double check here. I have my two x-intercepts that came from my factored form, my vertex. I completed the square there. And check, I got that one correct. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the next question. I'm really glad that we're doing the next question together as well. This one is actually already in factored form. They already factored this for us. So this actually, right off the bat, gives us our x-intercepts here. So let's take a look at our two x-intercepts. First things first, I have x minus 5. That means my first 0 is 5. And then x minus 13, that means that my next one is negative or is positive 13. So my two zeros, my two x-intercepts, I have a 5 and I have a 13. So I have 5 and I have 13. Awesome. Now, here's something else that we need to figure out. We also need to figure out the vertex. So let's go ahead and get this into standard form first. Let's get this into standard form first, and then we'll go ahead and talk about vertex form. All right, so if I were to distribute this out, I have negative x minus 5, and then times x minus 13. I'm going to go ahead and distribute here. So first off, negative x. And then finally, a negative times a negative 5 is a positive 5. All right, we're going along here. Pardon the handwriting. I'm trying my best. All right, now negative x times x, that would be negative x squared. Negative x times negative 13, that is positive 13x. 5 times x is 5x. And then finally, 5 times negative 13. 5 times negative 13 is negative 65. And combining like terms here, I have negative x squared plus 18x minus 65. All right, now this is going to look a little bit different than the vertex forms of the past, and I want to talk about why that is. So I have negative x squared plus 18x minus 65. Let's look at this. All right, so what did I say? I said that we have negative x squared plus 18x, and that was minus 65. Minus 65. All right, now looking at this, typically we have vertex form where this negative right here needs to be outside of the parentheses. That tells me that I am frowny. So I'm going to go ahead and factor out a negative from these first two terms only. These first two terms only. All right, so if I divide out a negative x squared, if I divide out a negative, well, there I would be left with, this is x squared. If I have 18x and I divide that by a negative 1, that is negative 18x. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave my blank here. I'm going to leave this blank right here. And then finally, I still have a minus 65, and then I'm going to leave my blank out here. So here's the reason that we did this. We had a negative out in front of the x. Typically, that negative needs to be outside of my parentheses, so I went ahead and factored out a negative x. Negative x squared divided by negative 1 is just x squared, and then 18x divided by a negative is a negative 18x. All right, and this problem becomes the exact same as before, So looking at this, first things first, I need to split up my negative 18 in half. This becomes a negative 9 and a negative 9. All right, and if I were to multiply these together, negative 9 times negative 9 is positive 81. But I want to be careful here. I know that it's going to be really tempting to say, oh yeah, plus 81 minus 81. But that is not the case in this problem. Take a look. I know that this is positive 81 right here. However, we still have that negative on the outside. So negative 81, negative times 81 is we actually subtracted 81 here. So because I subtracted 81, over here I need to add 81. And when I combine these, Negative 65 plus 81, that should be positive 16. So here we go. Negative, I have x minus 9 squared, and then finally my plus 16 on the outside. So what is my vertex now? Well, here we go. My vertex here, I went to the right by 9, so my vertex is 9. And then I went up by 16. This would be up 16. So my vertex is 9, 16. So here we go, 9, 16. Now, one hint for you guys, use your resources. Taking a look at this, you can always check your work on Desmos. I want to show you guys how to do that. So if I were to graph this, negative x minus 5, x minus, what was it, 13? All right, looking at this, what are my two x-intercepts? Well, my x-intercepts are 5 and 13. That's what I had right here. What's my vertex of my parabola? 9 and 16. That's the exact same thing that we have. So there's no need to miss any of these problems. No need to miss any of these. You guys can check your work on Desmos at any time on these. So check, got it right. So this was to help you get through this. Don't forget to use your resources. You guys have Desmos. You guys can check, double check those x values, those x-intercepts, and your vertex. If you get stuck on any of these, feel free to screenshot it and send me an email, and I am here to help. Good luck.